Don, you're on.
Can we start now?
Yes, Don, you can start.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Vikramadon Dhammika, Program Manager from Asia Pacific Institute for Broadcasting Development, AIBD. And thank you very much for joining with us today from different parts of the world for this webinar on marine journalism. On behalf of the AIBD and its Secretary, Director, and CEO, and AIBD staff, I warmly welcome you all for this session. Unfortunately, Ms. Philomena Gnanapragasam, who is our Secretary Director and CEO, prevents attending this webinar as she is engaged in official commitment at the moment and requested me to give her regards to everyone joining here. We planned this webinar to create awareness and educate our colleagues on the importance of oceans for planet and necessity of its conservation. Under the SDG goal 14, life below water is very much given attention at the current global agenda. So we have experts joining for this webinar to give their insights on this underused term of marine journalism. And without any further ado, let me introduce our moderator for this webinar. She's from Kiribati. She can bring a lot of experience from that Pacific. Ms. Rachel Tiata is the legal officer of Digital Transformation Office in the Ministry of Transformation, Communication and Transport in Kiribati. She holds a Bachelor of Law degree from the University of South Pacific in Suva, Fiji. Her responsibilities include organizing training and awareness activities on e-government legal frameworks, managing and coordinating public procurement for ICT-related systems and services, reviewing and amending existing ICT legislation, and carrying out other ICT-related responsibilities that include both legal and policy aspects. Ms. Rachel, I request you to take the webinar forward, and I kindly request all our participants to mute your audio as well. And thank you very much and looking forward to a great session. Floor is yours, Ms. Rachel.
Hello, thank you, Don. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. It's a pleasure to have you join us for this important discussion on marine journalism. We are so thrilled to have participants from across regions joining us today. Our agenda includes 3 key presentations. First, Ms. Tan Sulin will discuss what is marine journalism and share insight on pursuing a career in this vital field. Next, we have Mr. Faisal Drasa Khan who will speak on climate reporting, challenges and way forward, focusing on the importance of effective climate communication. Third, we have Professor Terni Pradeep Kumar, who will present on Oceans, Lifeline for Human Survival, emphasizing the critical role oceans play in sustaining life. After the presentations, we'll have a Q&A session to address your questions, followed by a brief photo session. So please feel free to send your questions via the chat during the presentations, and we'll address them during the Q&A session after all our speakers are finished. However, as a Pacific Islander and particularly from Kiribati, these discussions resonate deeply. Our region's reliance on the ocean and our vulnerability to climate change make marine and climate journalism essential for raising global awareness. Today's insights will help us better address these challenges and amplify our voices on the global stage. However, a quick reminder to our speakers, each of you has 20 minutes for your presentations to ensure we have time for discussions. Thank you. Without further ado, let's begin. I'd like to start by introducing our first speaker, Ms. Tan Sulin, journalist and co-founder, Science Media Center Malaysia. Tan Sulin is a media and communications professional with over 10 years of broadcast journalism experience. She is a 2014 CNN Journalism Fellow who has won numerous awards throughout her career, specializing in environmental and science-related topics. Sulin co-founded Science Media Center SMC, Malaysia, in 2020 to champion the importance of effective science communications and evidence-based reporting. SMC is Malaysia's first information resource center of its kind, assisting journalists in reporting complex and contentious science issues that makes headlines. A Chevening scholar with an MA in Environment, Culture, and Society from Lancaster University, she aspires to increase the environmental journalism and bridge the science communication gap in Malaysia. Ms. Sulin, the floor is yours.
Hello, thank you everyone. Hi. So hi, my name is Sulin. Thank you for the very kind introduction, as well as thank you so much, Don and the team, for having me here on today's webinar, touching on a very pertinent topic of marine journalism. And I'd like to share my screen. Let me know if you can see my screen. Thumbs up, or anyone give a shout out. It would be great.
Thank you. We can see it from here.
Thank you very much. So today, I'm in this short amount of time, in 20 minutes, I'm just going to be sharing in terms of my experience as a journalist in covering the topic of marine issues. I wouldn't call myself it's just a disclaimer, I wouldn't call myself a marine journalist per se, because, you know, as journalists and also coming from broadcast, TV news, especially, most of us are expected to cover all topics, and just so happen that marine conservation issues are very close to heart. And also just brief introduction about myself. I've been a broadcast journalist for the longest part of my career. I started out with radio first in 2007, and my last stint in 2018, I was with Astro Awani TV News. As a broadcast journalist, I worked my way up, and the last role was as an editor and TV producer. And also I produced my own TV show. It's called Eco Santai, with a message of environmental and sustainability. And this was, the format was more of like infotainment in terms of how do you make topics like environment, for example, make it engaging and interesting for our audience. And when I left in 2018 to further my study, I came back and I was a communications professional with WWF Malaysia, based in Sabah, Borneo. And as well, I also co-founded, as mentioned earlier, the Science Media Center Malaysia, which is an independent platform to help support journalists covering science topic, including environmental and climate change. And as you can see with the photos that I have here, as I was going back my past preparing this slide, I realized actually I do cover a lot of marine topics, and that's just because my passion and also my interest as I started out as a diver, a scuba diver, and then that came an excuse for me to actually pitch stories to my editors and telling them that, you know what, we have to do this story and I can take the footage for you. And that's how I managed to go out from the office and go on the field to cover such topics. And at that time as well, I was the only scuba diver among all my peers in journalism in my office in Astro Awani, hence why I was the only one doing all this. And as you can see as well in the screen, if you notice our Earth, right, and you see what is the main, the biggest, what is it covered mostly is actually in blue, is actually water. And more than 70% of the Earth's surface is covered with water. And as well as 97% of it is actually in the ocean. And as a scuba diver as well, I always tell people, you know what, this 70% of the Earth is covered with water. If you're not diving, you know, imagine what you're missing out. You're only covering 30%. And likewise, I would say same goes to journalism as well. If you're not covering marine journalism, you're actually missing out 70% of literally the Earth coverage. And just a quick overview about what is marine journalism. And I'm sure the other speaker later on will delve in further in terms of this topic as well. But this just to give kind of like an overview as well. I'm sure those who are joining us in this webinar today, either you are a journalist, probably or practicing journalist interested in covering marine topics, or you are also already a marine journalist, and I'm sure some of this topic you are familiar of. So essentially, it's an area of reporting regarding on the ocean and issues that impact it. For example, pollutions, climate change, and conservation, and the potential angles. It's very. If you think that marine journalism is a niche topic, I would beg to differ, because there's so many potential angles that you can cover, be it from the scientific discoveries experts and academia are finding out from the ocean, up to observation of the marine life, whether or not local endemic species in your area, are they thriving, are they migrating, something that is out of the normal behavior, and also conservation efforts being implemented either by your local NGOs or just individuals or communities who are very passionate about this topic, as well as legislation, technology, culture as well plays an important role in terms of how local communities react to Mother Nature, and in this case, the marine ecosystem, as well as tourism, whether it be in sustainable tourism, over tourism, or ecotourism, with the backdrop of the marine ecosystem. And talking about, what are the potential topics, and this would be, I guess, in terms of popular topics or key topics that one could cover when it comes to marine journalism. So as mentioned earlier, conservation is a big story, and you could easily just look up as well in terms of your local NGOs and also local communities. What are they doing in terms of protecting or conserving the ocean? And this could be in terms of looking at what are the things being done in your marine protected areas, conservation of the endangered species, as well as habitat restoration. And obviously, climate change is a huge issues affecting the environment, and that includes the marine environment as well. So how is it impacting the marine ecosystem in terms of maybe perhaps coral bleaching, ocean acidification, or the sea level rising? When you talk about sustainability as well, look into in terms of how is the fisheries doing, perhaps the topic of, is it being overfished, or illegal fishing, or bycatch sometimes. When you are catching, fishermen are catching fish, sometimes they tend to catch other endangered species like whale sharks, for example. And also marine pollution as well. As you all know, plastic pollution is a big issue when it comes to the ocean, what is going on there, as well as oil spills, ghost nets as well, like fishermen or trawlers who just leaves their nets in the ocean and not picking them up, and that as well affects the coral reefs, as well as what are the potential or possible solutions out there in terms of addressing marine pollution. As well, other topics like, what are the maritime security? These as well would be, I would say, key issues in terms of what are the potential topics one could cover when it comes to marine journalism. And I just want to share personal stories in terms of the stories that I have done myself in terms when I was reporting for Astro Awani. Background, Astro Awani is a TV news, 24 hours TV news channel in Malaysia, predominantly reporting in Bahasa Malaysia. So bear with me, some of these examples are in Bahasa, but I'll try my best to explain in English as well. Just to show you, for example, these are the stories that I did, which actually I would say covers quite a holistic angle in terms of what is going on in Sabah. So Sabah is in the North Borneo on the east of Malaysia, and also very blessed with marine ecosystem. It has one of the best dive sites in Malaysia. Some of you might know Sipadan. So other parts in Sabah are facing in terms of their issues of fish bombing. And interestingly, how I come to know about this topic a fish bombing or illegal bombing to catch fish is because, as mentioned earlier, I'm a scuba diver, and when I was diving and I hear from people who were saying in the community, sometimes when they dive, they could hear the sound of bombing from a distance, and that actually scares them, and it triggers some fear in terms of where is it coming from, the bomb. And I experienced myself when I went diving, and I also hear the sound of fish bombing, although it sounds like it's from a distance, but we all know how detrimental effect it be. So in terms of the reporting that I did, I was showing in terms of how this fish bombing is affecting the coral reef destruction, how it causes population
Hampir seluruh
decline,
kawasan terumbu karang di
as well
perairan
as
Sabah
it
pernah
affecting
dibom
biodiversity, tourism,
sekurang-kurangnya
and the
sekali.
livelihood
Hakikatnya
of
lebih 70% kawasan
fishermen.
terumbu karang
And
negara
being from
terletak di
TV,
Sabah
as far as
menunjukkan
you know, and
khazanah
some of
alam.
you, I believe, are from the broadcasting as well. Visuals are very important, and this is my staple stand-upper, so you would call it. So before I go down and show people the visual footage of what goes on in the underwater, I like to do my piece for sing a little bit, and then I'll go down to have that kind of like a splash, if you could say, for the audience. So bear in mind, this was way back in 2013. So I was showing people that when you dive in this area, particularly, you can see the coral reefs were destroyed. And this, I believe, through visuals tells stories, and it's caused by fish bombing.
Kesan dia hasil daripada
And
sebab
we got
kita ada
in terms of
rekod-rekod
local authority as well
pemantauan
to
terumbu
comment about
karang
this issue, because
di
it was a serious
hampir
issue
semua stesen
impacting not just
di mana kita jalankan hampir
marine
setiap
life,
tahun, dan
because when you
terdapat
fish
bukti
bomb
yang menunjukkan
like that, in
bahawa
terms of
karang
it's a
kita ini
shortcut way of catching fish
pernah
instead of
dibom.
like waiting for the fish to come out.
Kaedah penangkapan
it's a way
ikan ini
where
bukan sahaja
they
melanggar
would,
undang-undang,
bomb the
malah
area,
memusnahkan
and then all the
terumbu
fish
karang
would,
yang menjadi nadi
they don't die
kehidupan
immediately, but they
pelbagai
are
spesies
shocked.
marin.
So when they're shocked, they get
Apabila satu
they are
kawasan tu
immobilized,
bila
and you can
dibom
actually catch them and put
beberapa
them into
kali,
net. I'm not trying to teach you how to fish,
karang
I'm
ni dia
just
tumbuh
telling
di
you
atas satu
what goes
substrat,
on.
dia perlukan
But
substrat keras.
obviously, it's the
Jadi bila
detrimental effect. What
dibom
happens is
beberapa
not
kali,
just that,
jadi
as well,
substrat
local fishermen
Aktiviti bom ikan juga berbahaya. Jika bahan letupan tidak sempat dilepaskan, ia boleh menyebabkan kecederaan teruk, malah mengundang maut. Ikuti siri kedua laporan ini yang menyingkap kisah seorang bekas penyelundupan. Tan Sulin, Astro Alami.
It's a series of 3-episode series report for this particular story. Because as you know, sometimes the story is too big to tell in just one news, especially for TV when you have such short time. So this was a series, a 3-episode series. So that was the first part, was to highlight about what's the problem there, what's going on, so people have an idea. Because at the time that this article or this news came out, or this feature story came out, many people did not know about fish bombing or even know what's happening in Sabah. So that itself has already brought to light the issues that are happening there. And the other angle as well, for me, when it comes to coming out with feature stories, I always want to make my audience feel empowered, and how the audience, especially communities, can relate to the story. And how I tell them is through humanizing the stories and showing how community can play a role. So in this case, it's a story I told in the voice of the fish bomber.
Tindakan penguasa di kalangan masyarakat khususnya yang tinggal di malam tidak bersara bom ikan pudarkan kilauan laut. Masyarakat khususnya yang tinggal di kawasan pesisiran memainkan peranan penting sebagai mata dan telinga pihak berkuasa untuk melaporkan sebarang aktiviti mencurigakan.
Semua pihak juga boleh turut memainkan peranan dalam menteras aktiviti ini. Contohnya pihak komuniti boleh membantu memantau kawasan mereka untuk memberi laporan ataupun nasihat kepada mereka-mereka yang melakukan aktiviti-aktiviti ini.
Pengguna juga boleh menurut dengan ikan yang ditangkap secara bom ikan adalah dengan melakukan ujian sebegini, iaitu angkat ikan begini dan jika ia bengkok ke tepi, bermakna tulang dalamnya telah hancur. Dan satu lagi cara, bila anda tekan badan ikan berkenaan dan jika ia mengalami pendarahan melalui insang, juga bermakna ia telah ditangkap secara bom ikan.
Untuk mengenali suatu jenis ikan berkenaan, sebenarnya ini
via fish bombing, and you should then boycott this fish that were caught via fish bombing, and that's how an example of how your audiences can be empowered.
Tindakan
And the other angles that I've done before in terms of storytelling as well, in this particular story, for example, you know how sharks are always being portrayed as man-eater, no thanks to movies like Jaws and the mass media, but the fact that their population are declining, and if anything, they are, killed annually for, their fins, and the number of humans who are actually being eaten by sharks are only happens so rare and far in between. So this is how I was telling the story
mengenali
in
ikan
terms
hiu
of
yang sebenarnya, tetapi berapa ramai yang sanggup menyelam bersama ikan hiu itu yang mendekati haiwan pemangsa yang sering dilabel sebagai hidupan laut paling ganas di dunia. Namun wartawan Tan Suli mengambil risiko untuk menyelam dalam tangki akuarium yang penuh dengan ikan hiu bagi membuktikan spesies itu bukanlah seperti apa yang digambarkan. Ikuti laporan.
And that is a powerful way of storytelling or telling people in terms of what or more like giving a different light.
Itself. And actually shark don't actually go after people.
Yeah, in terms
shark
of
actually sometimes itself. And actually shark don't actually go after people. Shark actually sometimes mistake the person.
Ms. Solin, if you can lower down
like
the volume a bit.
So much,
If you can lower down your volume a bit, this video's volume. Because
okay.
movies, right?
Is it better now?
All being afraid of
A bit more.
to the sea.
A bit more.
So to me, when we see a shark,
I think better. Thank you.
Okay.
as you
Yes,
they will
thank you so much.
move away from
So yeah, to show that sharks are friends, not food, and they are harmless, and we should look at sharks in a different light. And the way I humanize also, I'm explaining from my perspective, how was it? Because I'm pretty sure not everyone has a chance to dive in a tank full of sharks, am I right? So these are the examples of, telling a story about this issue.
mengenali
And I know when it comes to broadcasting as well, sometimes those are the examples of feature stories. So, and we always deal with very limited amount of time, and you can only perhaps maximum 3 minutes is also too long. And in terms of telling a story, you really have to concise and make the best out of that minute. But if you had a chance to do like a documentary, for example, then you can play around with a lot more in terms of storytelling. In this case, it's a documentary in terms of conservation of the marine ecosystem, the marine coral reefs. And this is led by in terms of action, to get people,
Somewhere
get
in the
people
waters
to
of
be
Miri,
interested or hooked,
Sarawak.
or what's happening in the waters of Sarawak.
The Malaysian Maritime Enforcement Agency is on a lookout for illegal fishing trawlers.
So this is an intro, for example. But when it comes to visuals, obviously your visuals you have to have stunning visuals especially if you are writing or if you are producing for TV, right? Visuals play a huge role in terms of getting people in, and in this case, it's the visuals of a lot of visuals of underwater, showing what's happening around there and hooking people with engaging visuals underwater to also stir that appreciation about the treasures, the marine treasures that we have in our coastal area. And also in terms of in terms as well, innovation solutions. So in that particular in this particular documentary, we are highlighting, if you can see in this screen, it's like a dome where this will then be planted underwater, and it will be home for it will function as an artificial reef for the fishes in the area. But the idea of even planting the reef itself is an arduous task in itself, where you need like a huge cranes to lift them up, because this weighs tons. They're made of cement, right? So also depicting how the processes were.
With our very own eyes is how this reef ball is being deployed into the ocean. As you can see, it's not a very simple task to just deploy this reef ball, as these reef balls are said to be as heavy as 1 ton. And since today is a good weather, weather permits us to witness how it's being deployed. But during bad weather, when the seas are choppy, it will be almost impossible to deploy these reef balls into the ocean.
So they're also dealing with, forces, the environment, the weather, so all that thing as well play into effect. And this is not my story, but I just want to highlight in terms of storytelling as well. I love how, whenever we bridge arts and science, because, arts usually we're able to make sense of, how humans, we always make sense when it comes to art and humanities. And this is an example of how the issues of marine issues is being portrayed in the performance, gamelan performance. So gamelan is a traditional Malay performance using the equipments, the instruments, but it's a contemporary take where it evokes imageries of ocean and fishermen in the sea. I'll just play you a short snippet. Yeah, so these are the examples, and especially the approach of using arts or telling stories from the arts perspective, and when you're bridging important topics like marine, it often will have the hook, or at least people who are, gets people attention because people relate to it through arts. And just to share a little bit in terms of what we have done in the past, in terms of the Science Media Center, we have come up with a program where we conduct a workshop, and we also get reporters to pitch these stories about climate change. I just want to show you in terms of the type of stories that came in, and it also relates to the marine environment as well. And this project was funded by the British High Commission, and the project members are a group of climate scientists, climate journalists, climate advocate, and as well as a creative producer. And this is what I mentioned about trying to marry in terms of the art and science. So as a result, we wanted to the content creators and the local journalists to come up with stories to produce a more human-centered stories in terms of reporting about the environment and climate change, as well as we came up with a digital toolkit as well to help them in terms of how do you reporting climate change 101, if you could say, in terms of reporting in the context of Malaysia. So some of the stories are wide-ranging when it comes to the human-centeredness of the climate change, and one of them are also talking about how does the temperature bleaches the ocean in Malaysia, and how is it impacting the local communities. And the other part, as I mentioned as well, is in multiple language. So Malaysia has is multicultural and multi-ethnic. So it was also important for us to highlight at that time that there's a need for more news that regarding to climate change that are not just in English or Bahasa, but also in Mandarin and Tamil as well. As this toolkit as well, it touches about tips on writing on climate change, list of resources, potential experts and spokespersons, and a glossary about climate change. As you know, is often a very jargon-filled topic. And in terms of moving forward, in terms of, you know, how do you tell a compelling story in marine stories? So I guess the most important thing you have to ask is why is the story so important and why should people care? And when it comes to topic like marine as well, oftentimes if you are just talking about data and just data only, obviously it's going to turn off people. So find a way how you can humanize and localize the story. And if you're coming from a TV news like me in broadcast journalism, visuals play a very important role. And speaking about visuals as well, your first few seconds or first few minutes, you must have a very powerful beginning. And also you need to know what's your hook to get people, to draw people in. Obviously also use data to support your story. But obviously you need to use data, but not too much, especially for TV as well. Just pick the most important one. And you should also, when it comes to marine issue as well, it is about the sciences, marine sciences. So you should know a little bit about the basic about marine science and try to present it, but then present it or talk like a real person. And when it comes to telling the story, oftentimes when it comes to environmental stories, we always see the stories tend to be a bit doom and gloom. We just highlight the problems, or we don't really talk about solutions. So I would urge you to tell the whole story, including solutions out there. There is also a statistic or report by Reuters that says that people are turned off by, you know, very negative stories. I think we call this news avoidance. When people feel overwhelmed by the stories that are so negative, people just shut off and just turn off. So how do you mitigate that? By coming up with stories that are empowering and solution-driven story. And also your stories should have a call to action. You know, just don't leave the story just hanging like that, but end it in a way where people can go back and feel like, okay, what can they do? And this could include encouraging your audience to demand for solutions for marine issues. And I'm gonna wrap up very soon, but in terms of how do you find marine stories, these are the potential areas. Obviously, I feel one of the most important thing is you have to build a relationship with the local communities so that you will know what actually goes on the ground. And I think this also applies to any field of reporting. So you should know the local communities. So local communities are your frontliners. They are the one who witnesses all these things, and they'll be able to tell you what goes on in their home turf. Obviously, other potential sources are like experts and academia. Social media is very important. Observe what's going on out there, and also your own observation. As mentioned earlier, I'm a diver, and based on my observation, sorry, hello? Is anyone talking? Anyways, so your own observation in terms of what's going on in your surroundings. So as a diver, I mentioned before, I have heard fish bombing when I go diving, and that triggers me what's going on. And that led to the investigation in terms of asking people and also linking up with the local authorities and also NGO. Other areas are like conferences, go to conferences and network with experts and academia. International media outlets, you can also monitor what other news are doing, although it's not in your own country, but maybe other countries are having solutions for marine issues that could inspire you to bring up that conversation with your local NGOs. And of course, like international environmental events like COP or CITES. COPS is a conference for biodiversity, and CITES is regarding the endangered species. These are the potential areas. Last one, I just want to leave you with potential resources that you can go to if you want to learn more about marine or writing about marine. The Earth Journalism Network has this open has this Ocean Media Initiative, and they provide grants, so you could look out for that. And Copernicus as well has the open literacy for journalists and science communicator, as well as if you are reporting in newsroom and you need visuals from other countries, for example, or visuals of climate change, In All News has a platform for Creative Commons footage for journalists and newsrooms. And lastly, before I end, I just want to share with you, this is the toolkit that I mentioned earlier that we did in communicating climate change in Malaysia. So if you have friends who are Malaysian journalists, you could share this with them and it'll be very useful for it. Or if you could also look through it and maybe have a look, maybe how you can emulate similarly for your own country or for your local journalists as well. And I think that's it. Thank you so much for your time. I'm open to questions, either after this or another session later on after everyone has presented. Feel free to reach out through LinkedIn or email. Thank you very much. Back to you, Rachel.
Thank you, Ms. Tan Soo Lin, for that insightful presentation on marine journalism and how one can pursue a career in this crucial field. Your expertise is truly valuable to us all. Thank you. Now to continue our session, I am pleased to introduce our next speaker. We have Mr. Faisal Rasa Khan, a veteran journalist from Pakistan. Mr. Faisal Rasa Khan is an award-winning Pakistani journalist with 27 years of experience in print and electronic media, nationally and internationally. Currently hosting program Foresight on PTV World, the only state-run English TV channel. Mr. Khan focused on foreign affairs, defense, emerging technologies, blue economy, science, environment, and climate change. He holds master's degrees in political science and mass communications and is a fellow of UN, US, Turkey, etc., and trainer on climate change, environment, and marine journalism. I'll now hand over to you, Mr. Khan. Thank you. Mr. Khan?
Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
We can hear you. We can hear you.
Am I audible? Is it okay?
Mr. Khan, we can hear you.
Yes. Okay. So my basic topic is the climate reporting, challenges and way forward. And I'm really thankful to Asia Pacific Institute of Broadcasting Development and rest of the organizers and all that. So I start here from basically that what is climate change? The next slide. What is climate change? According to the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC, defines the climate change as a change in the state of climate that can be identified by the changes in the mean or the variability of its properties, and that persists for an extended period, typically decades or longer. If we just go simply into this definition, that is, climate change refers to the long-term warming of the planet due to an increase in average global temperature, primarily caused by the human activities, especially the release of the greenhouse gases. So this is basically, and as Tan Soo Lin already covered, so I am skipping one or two slides on altogether. You remember that the UN Sustainable Development Goals, actually, if you just go to the UNESCO warning, it might be the 7th slide. Yes, 7th. Yeah. Okay. So you all remember that the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, the three of the very important goals are that SDG 11, that is sustainable cities and communities. Then SDG 13, that is climate action, and SDG 14, that is life below water. Now, UNESCO, the United Nations Education, Scientific and the Cultural Organization, says that more than half of the world's marine species may stand on the brink of extinction by 2100. So it means that we have a very limited time. And at 1.1 degrees Celsius increase in the temperature today, an estimated 60% of the world's marine ecosystem have already been degraded or are being used unsustainably. So this is basically very alarming. When it comes to the media, it is very important that media has to play a pivotal role in making things happen, giving awareness to the people. That is important, raising awareness about the marine resources, the marine ecology, the biodiversity, the ocean conservation, blue economy, and the sustainable use of resources. The next slide, please. So in that particular perspective, when we are talking about the media's role, it is very important that we have to learn that a journalist has the responsibility and the media houses has the responsibility to raise awareness among the people about the precious marine resources which we have actually, and whole of the marine ecology and biodiversity, the ocean conservation, and the related blue economy and its sustainable use of these particular resources. So when we are promoting these eco-friendly practices, the policies, and how to enhance environment-friendly and sustainable economic value of it, it is important that we have to showcase the impactful stories of the climate change, the marine environmental challenges, the innovations in marine conservation. The next, please. Marine conservation, the maritime, and the blue economy. So it is important that we have to go on with it. Like there are lots of areas in which the adverse effects of reclamation, the destruction of the mangrove forest, the illegal or overfishing, the dumping solids, all kinds of chemicals and the plastic waste in the oceans. And as Tansulin was telling about the fish bombing, basically, that these are the areas which are unfortunately destroying whole of the ocean resources we have and creating. We have to create a platform. What a media's role is that media always create a platform for dialogue, holding stakeholders accountable for ocean governance, basically. And when we are talking about the encouraging investments into mitigation and the adaptation to the climate change and the mechanisms, environment friendly practices in the marine ecosystem, it is important that we have to support the research and development. That is very important area, because media has to support that area, because ultimately that research and development gives us the data. That data is going to be useful for the journalists, particularly to analyze it, to have more stories or creative stories on that, or might be sometimes innovative stories out of those data analysis. Next, please. We have to focus. Next, please. We have to focus on protection of marine resources, environment, ensuring maritime security and economy together, because you know that security and economy goes together. But on that front particularly, if the oceans and the seas and the coastline is environmentally protected, the marine resources are well protected, then you have a well protected security, and you have a flourishing economy together. Unfortunately, in most of the oceans, that is not happening. When we are going through the climate change and the marine reporting, particularly in just in a Pakistan's context, we have, unfortunately, when its coverage comes, unfortunately, politics comes first, and then afterwards the current affairs, what is happening all around Then we have the coverage of the sports, then the business economy, environment, crime and justice, health and well-being, education, defense and security, international affairs, regional and cultural events, and then comes the environment and climate change. Because from the last a decade or so, it becomes more attractive regarding the media or regarding the journalists, that most of the journalists comes towards the climate change. But the climate change and environment is not understandable if you don't have the how-now of science and technology. And that comes afterwards, and the social issues, then regional news. And unfortunately, the blue economy and the marine resources or the marine journalism comes at the bottom. It is because that most of the people, like in Pakistan, if we say, most of the area is land centric, and the people's mind is actually the land centric. Nobody bothers about what is happening at sea, what is happening at the oceans, although 98%, 97% of the trade going on from sea, and the whole of the blue economy is actually flourishing the land economy. And you have fisheries, you have tourism, you have mangroves, you have all the stuff available when it comes to the shipping, the recycling, and all that. So this is basically, this area is very lucrative area, but most of the countries, particularly the third world countries in South Asia, in Africa, and most of the regions, most of the people don't know the importance of the oceans and sea. And that's the prime reason why we are far behind when it comes to particularly the climate change reporting or the marine journalism. So that's why most of the people are not actually preferring that why we have to go for the climate change reporting, particularly the marine centric marine journalism or marine centric reporting. Next, please. So when we are talking about what's a journalist actually required, what sort of things required by a journalist to how to start the climate change reporting or a marine journalism, how to step in. The first thing is that the basic knowledge is very important, and that knowledge must have to be there. Understanding of the economy, sustainable development. I'm so sorry. Then familiarity with the blue economy, the research skills, the interviewing skills, the storytelling skills. That is very important. Storytelling ability is a must. So critical thinking, you have to just that how to examine the data, how to go into the facts and all that. So objectivity and the balance, investigative skills, the ability to communicate simply, and then knowledge of local and international policies, the networking skills, the multimedia skills, and curiosity and passion. These are the areas which are inevitable for a journalist to excel, whether it's climate reporting, whether it's marine journalism, or all sorts of journalism or that. So I think so that in that particular perspective, we have to be focused. And one journalist, if the journalist has some sort of these abilities, he can easily excel into these areas, and he can have a very catchy and human angle story, or a story which is attractive to the audience. When it comes to the challenges, to the next page, when it comes to the challenges of which are actually happening or facing by a journalist. Now, if a journalist starts reporting on the climate change and the marine journalism, so how he can cope up with all those challenges? What actually those challenges which are come forward in that area? So that is basically next, please. That is those challenges are the limited awareness and the understanding of the marine or ocean resources. Then secondly, the media, bureaucracy, political parties are actually having the land-centric approach. So this is very unfortunate. We are facing it everywhere. That most of the times when it comes to the marine journalism or the climate change reporting, media always focuses on those lucrative stories who are politics centric. Then it comes to the media always give a lesser priority or having the more political sensationalism rather than to be the objective reporting on the different aspects which are directly linked with the human beings or their livelihoods, like fisheries, that is directly linked with the fisherman community, the coastal communities, and then you have the mangroves, which are directly linked with the local economy because of the shrimps and the fish production. And then you have deep sea drilling or something like that. And then but most of the times we are facing lots of risk and violence and threats because why it is because more as I'm just giving you an example that if you have a story on reclamation of sea and some of the land grabbers are actually doing it. So if you are doing that story and the coral reefs are under threat because of such activities, because of the fish bombing, the fish species, or the corals are under threat, then when it comes to the mangroves, the cutting of the mangrove forests or illegal fishing, you are doing some sort of story. So you have the risk of violence or threats are there. So that's why that is the main challenge as well. And scientific complexities, lack of specialized journalists and experts. That is another very important point. Next, please. Very important point because the scientific complexities, most of the times, most journalists are facing such problems because they don't have any sort of a scientific background. So, in that perspective, they lack it. And they feel it difficult to have those stories. Then the media owners, managers, and editors unawareness. This is a very important point because most of the times, most of the newspapers or the broadcast media, whether it's radio or television, media owners don't know, the managers and the gatekeepers don't know that what is the importance of basically the marine journalism or the climate change in one's life. Then there is a missing awareness campaign or the public apathy that is not there. Then the missing engaging approach among the entities. So this is again a very important area because most of the times we either the media houses or the journalists are not engaging the communities, or sometimes most of the organizations don't take any sort of an interest to have much engagement with the communities, particularly the fisher communities or the communities at the coastline. Then the lack of reliable data, that is not available. The information denial or the non-sharing, that is again uh, hampering the journalistic work when the organizations are not ready to give that data, or sometimes they are having a lot of secretive approach, or that data is not reliable because most of the times that is biased. So sometimes that is not usable. So then again, next, please, the next slide. So largely, there is a missing industry, academia, media linkage. That is unfortunately missing. So there is a squeeze advertisement for from the maritime business groups. Why I'm saying it, because most of the TV channels and most of the newspapers have an advertisement chunk, and they are always thirsty, always to have that advertisement available. Then the funding constraints, because most of the times when the journalists are working, even the freelance journalists who are working in the field of maritime journalism or marine journalism or the climate change aspects, because that is not much popular among the corporate groups particularly. So most of the TV channels or the newspaper belongs to those corporate groups, and that's why that funding is not available. So how we can move forward. Next, please. How we can move forward, that is very important. The journalists and the media houses training and the capacity building. That is first and the foremost. Without that, it is not easy to move on, because if the journalists don't know how to carve a story, how to make it appealing, how to have what methods he can, and how data is available, how he can analyze things. So it is impossible to have impact-oriented stories. Then specialized reporting on the climate change or marine journalism, because as my colleague from Malaysia, Tan Sulen, was saying, it was very pertinent that we have to have a particular reporting into the particular area like marine journalism or into the climate change, because climate change and marine journalism is all together linked with each other. And that is one area of the climate change in which we can do something for humanity. And then the access to information, the scientific data and research, that is very important. And in that area, because that always helps journalists to have particular information, the scientific data availability and research oriented work, that gives a beauty to a story. Then the science, research, data visualization and interviewing, the storytelling skills, which I have already mentioned. Then appropriate knowledge of the climate change fundamentals, marine ecosystem dynamics, policy and governance, local context, and emerging issues. Along with that, the government and institutional support. That is again very important. Like lots of areas in which you have some sort of a restriction, means some of the areas which belongs to the defense, and if you want to report it, then you need support from the defense entities. Then also, if you are working on tourism or something like that, particularly the ecotourism or the marine tourism, then it needs the government and in the institutional support as well. Next slide, please. Industry and the audience engagement, that is very important, because all sorts of industries, particularly when we are talking about related to the marine industries, like the recycling, like the restructure, like the repairing, like the shipping, shipbuilding, or the marine industry, like the fisheries, the fishing industry, or tourism industry, they all have to engage with each other. Journalists must have to engage with all these industries so that he can get the first-hand knowledge, along with that the pinpointed stories on that. Then funding opportunities for journalists, that is very important, as most of the organizations are funding different stories and different documentaries, so that journalists can flourish, because that is very important. Because in particular, in the third world countries, it is always unfortunate that journalists get very minimum opportunities. Then a media outreach program, that is very important. Then collaboration and partnerships must have to be encouraged. The utilizing the new technologies and the platforms, that is again very important. Engaging digital media, social media platforms, that is very important. Access to the scientific journals, very important area, and the research database, because that gives the current circumstances, the current data, and the current research papers and all that. Through that and through their abstracts, even a journalist can get a lot. So contacts with the scientific, especially the climatologists, the marine scientists, the policymakers, the stakeholders, it is very important on that aspect as well. So again, when we are talking about the use of remote sensing and the satellite imagery tools like Google Earth and all that, that helps a lot to the journalists to have real-time data and the graphics and all that. Then you need at least an online platform for the collaborative research. Next slide, please. Next slide. Climate change in the marine networks collaboration, and the last one is the awards and the recognition to the journalists. That is also very important, because most of the time journalists are not much encouraged into their stories, and that's why most of the times they get away from those topics which are a bit dry. In those areas, there must have to be, at the national level or the regional level, at the international level, there must have to be some recognition to those journalists who are working in these areas. Then media can work on different areas, and these are the very important areas. If you just go through, like marine resources and the fisheries, aquaculture, then maritime trade, the shipping, the transshipment, the ports, sustainable port development. Whoever says that climate change or the marine journalism is a dry subject and you don't have much to do on that, or you don't have much to do the stories, it is really unfortunate to even think about that, because these are lots of areas. Like you have the shipbuilding, repair and recycling, then renewable energy, offshore wind farms and drilling, illegal fishing, piracy, smuggling, coastal and the offshore development, marine coastal tourism. These are all areas in which you can work on. Next, please. Promoting water and the sea sports. Then the research, innovation policy, and the governance. You have influencing public opinion and the policy decisions. Then you can support the education and research initiatives in climate change and the marine journalism, maritime areas and the marine ecology and biodiversity. Then facilitating the dialogues among the stakeholders, encouraging investment in the maritime and the blue economy, because that again pays a lot. So in that perspective, how you can add value to your work. Next, please. If you want to do a story, you have to contextualize actually the local stories within the science of climate change. That is important. Explain the complex concepts in a very simple form. Highlight the human impact and stories behind the issues. That is again very important. Include expert opinions and diverse perspectives. Then use data and visualization as the key points. Explore economic aspects and discuss policy implications and potential solutions. Provide updates and follow-up stories in current issues. Highlight the success stories and the best practices. That will give your story a real limelight. Next, please. Then encourage audience engagement and feedback. Use clear and concise language and multimedia elements like images, the videos, the infographics. That will add value to your story. Provide historical context and the background information. Highlight the relevance to the local community and readers. Collaborate with the other journalists and experts to add depth into your stories. So these are the areas in which if a journalist can work on, because ultimately everybody has to do the hard work. This is not the area, this is not the bed of roses. You have to do it, because if you want to do it, then if you have the passion to do it, then you will do it, and everybody can do it. So every journalist who is stepping into the climate change reporting or into the marine journalism, I personally think that he or she can do a lot if they prefer to have a hard work, and according to these benchmarks, they can attain the new heights. Thank you very much for patience.
Thank you, Mr. Faisal Raza Khan, for such a powerful presentation. Your in-depth look at climate change reporting truly brings the light to the importance of clear communication in tackling climate change. So next, please, I am pleased to introduce Professor Tony Pradeep Kumar, Professor in Oceanography, Sri Lanka. Professor Tony Pradeep Kumar is a renowned marine and coastal ecological expert with a background in marine and coastal management, administration, knowledge dissemination, research, and consultancy. He has held various positions, including head of the Department of Oceanography and Marine Geology, General Manager, CEO of Marine Environment Protection Authority, and Director for Center for International Affairs. Kumar has published 100 international and local abstracts and contributed to more than 5 books. He is a UNEP Advisory Group member and UNEP Expert Group member for marine litter and microplastics, and a SACEP expert member for marine litter management in the South Asian Seas region. Professor Kumar, over to you. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, and I hope you can hear me clearly. Can you kindly confirm that?
Yes, Professor.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon from Sri Lanka. It's just after mid 12:30 from here. And yes, today my topic is oceans, life for human survival. So today I will give you some brief idea about the ocean, its importance very briefly, and the potential as a marine journalist you can explore in the ocean arena. At the same time, some challenges, some threats to the ocean, and then what I have done mainly in marine journalism as a scientist. I'm a marine scientist. Yes. So very briefly, I go to this to give a brief academic background about the ocean. So ocean is the largest ecosystem in our planet. So it covers about 71% of Earth's surface. It was mentioned by our first speaker. It contains about 97% of planet's water. So what we see is what we use is almost 0.5% of water as fresh water. Rest is in soil and even in the atmosphere in various forms. From the biosphere point of view, about 95% of animals from the weight is living in the ocean, because ocean contains, I mentioned that is 71% of Earth is covered, and it contains huge, large environments there. So we have 5 oceans for the administrative perspective, but we have only 1 ocean. If you connect everything, for our planet, we have only 1 ocean, right? But we have 5 oceans for the sake of the administration. So why ocean is important for us? So you know that ocean is the largest carbon sink, and it's a source of protein for us. We take fish mainly as a major protein source, and it's a source of energy, minerals, and even for medicine. So in global context, about more than 90% of goods are transported through ocean means. And again, lots of people, more than half of the world population live closer to the ocean, maybe within 100 kilometers from the shoreline. And it provides lots of opportunities, employment opportunities, for example, fisheries, tourism, research, and again, mineral extraction, naval, and everything. So huge amount of employment opportunities are given by the ocean. And ocean is the climate change regulator. So ocean manage our climate. Change our climate. In Sri Lanka, we are exposed to very extreme monsoons. So those monsoons are governed by the ocean. So in our world, we have tropical region, we have temperate region, we have polar region. So there the climate is mainly governed by the ocean. And latest information is that for our data world. So we are living in the data world. So more than 90% of data are transferred to the ocean means through ocean cables, right? So look at this. This is plankton production. These are trees. So if you get an idea from this picture, then I move to this one, because from our childhood we learned that most of our oxygen is oxygen we receive from from trees. Yes, but not from forest. Mainly from ocean production. Mainly from ocean plankton. So therefore, about 50 to 85% of oxygen we receive from the ocean, right? Ocean production, ocean photosynthesis. At the same time, 30% of carbon dioxide is absorbed by the ocean. Therefore, ocean make this planet a livable place. It provides us oxygen. It again cool down our planet because of the mainly to control global warming and climate change. Therefore, ocean is more important for us, because ocean is the main contributor to make this planet, our Earth planet, a livable place. Look at this city, this Los Angeles. It's spreading horizontally, right? So whereas we expect that we develop in very much vertical way, but when we develop horizontally, so our land become a problem in the future. So land become a restricting factor in the future, and even Sri Lanka we have that problem. And even if the lands are available, most of the lands are converting into deserts. So we can't use those lands. We can't use those lands for cultivation. Therefore, only mean is to jump into the ocean for future marine future aquaculture or agriculture in the ocean is called aquaculture, right? and then we have to reserve some forest, right? So therefore we can't touch those forest areas. If, for our own survival, we have to reserve some forest, we have to reserve some trees. Therefore we have to allocate some areas for our forest cover. At the same time, we have a water scarcity because of the climate change and global warming and everything. So therefore some areas, even if the land is available, we cannot cultivate anything, right? Therefore we have issues with the land now. Therefore, only option is to go for ocean. On the other hand, the infrastructure, cities and towns. So this kind of infrastructure, we have to again allocate more land um, uh, for our own use. Therefore, in the future, our main critical factor is going to be ocean, right? Look at this. Therefore, in the future, our most of the coastal countries, their economy, their ecology, then their own survival is mainly depending on the ocean. Therefore, we have to treat this ocean well, and we have to learn about the ocean. We have to know about the ocean. Therefore, taking this message to the general public is a job of our journalist. What is in the ocean? So very briefly, so we have coral reef starting from the very coastal line. Coral reef it protects our coastal waters from erosion. This coral reef is a very highly diverse ecosystems that attract most high number of tourists, even scientists, even other people to get benefits from from coral reefs and the coral life there within the ocean area. And look at this, the beauty, right? These are main attraction for tourism and again for fisheries. These fish resources, these are food fish. So most of the coastal countries, they are depending on the ocean for this sort of resources. And the seagrass beds is again, this seagrass bed is a flowering plants in the ocean. So we think that these seagrass beds are just barren lands with some plants. No, this is a cradle for whole complete ocean biodiversity, right? Even this blue swimming crab we consume daily in Sri Lanka. So this is a they live within the seagrass beds. Therefore, these ecosystems provide resources for people, especially poor people, especially living in coastal areas. Then mangroves that covers that fringe our coastal belt and even coastal water bodies. They have this own unique ecosystem. They have its unique fisheries. It has unique tourism happening among mangroves. So these are again give opportunities for local people and local coastal countries to thrive upon coastal ecosystem. Then shipwrecks that tells about our maritime history. At the same time, it's another highly biodiverse area we can easily use for marine tourism, especially underwater maritime marine archaeology, especially marine archaeology, we can use to this. And if you look at this picture, so lots of fish, but what I am focusing on this species, this sea sponge, they are extremely important because we can culture them. So why we culture them? We have some basic uses. But if I go to this one, so it absorbs uranium. So it's a good source for uranium if we culture sea sponges, right? In the future, uranium is a radioactive compound. It has lots of applications. So this is the new technology and new science emerging from the ocean, even and because it has a material that absorb and accumulate uranium from the ocean. And look at this. These are we call them as a underwater vents. So these vents emit superheated water. So we can extract easily energy from there. In addition to that, we can extract silver, gold, manganese, and cobalt, even zinc. So extremely powerful areas for even for future industries. And these are called polymetallic nodules or manganese nodules. So these contain nickel, copper, cobalt, molybdenum, titanium, lithium, and not only that, these are natural batteries. So these nodules, they release oxygen. So in underwater world, the animal get oxygen from this one. These are new findings. These are nodule. I took this is my hand actually. These are one single nodule. So these are newly recovered information, evidence of dark oxygen production from sea floor, mainly from manganese nodules. Not only that, look at this. So most our latest EV batteries, they get all the elements from these rocks. Therefore, they are very much important for countries. So as marine journalists, these are new stories we can spread across the world. Yeah? These are new information we are having. Then I talk about ocean culture, ocean aquaculture. That's called mariculture. So these are new trends. Not only tuna we are culturing, we culture lobsters, we culture abalones. Most of the now culture is happening is in a high tech industries. Lots of science involved, lots of high tech management involved. So therefore, these are the new potential and new trends in the current market to use ocean as a ocean as a more meaningful way. Then it's our duty to take this to the general public, to take more people into the ocean. These are marine aquaculture happening in the world, right? And these are very extensive but high tech industries. Then we know the power, wind power, wave power, and again tidal power we can extract from the ocean. And this is solar power. We extract solar even from the ocean, right? So that reserves some lands for other uses. Instead, we can use ocean areas to develop to extract solar power. And again, we know oil and gas is well known that even now we are in Sri Lanka also, we are now into that oil and gas industry, but it's a very primitive stage. But still, in Sri Lankan context also, we have a huge ocean oil deposits in our world, in our ocean flow. Not only oil, even gas. So it's our duty to explore more and get benefits to our own countries. Then science and technology. So if I move this one, this is soft corals, right? This is annelid. This is a worm living in the ocean. And these are, this is well-known sea anemones. So why I'm showing this? So the chemicals extract from these, the colors we extract from these are now used in pharmaceutical industry, right? So therefore, I think in the future, the scientists move into the ocean for looking for some more good potential chemicals to develop some new drugs even for failures, even arthritis, even skin rashes. New drugs are coming from this. This picture I see from number of pictures are from actually I'm a diver and I'm under photographer. So this is how the potential we have in the ocean. Look at this. Marine sponges as a drug treasure. So now in most of the countries, scientists go into the ocean looking for some new drugs, especially from coral reefs and other animals I just showed you, right? And the industry is ever expanding. So therefore, there's a huge potential to get more and more new drugs from the ocean, right? And look at this. Then not only that, even we can extract fresh water from the ocean, right? So while we extract fresh water, and we can even develop some sunlight or some energy also. It's a dual purpose. So this is a new technology we use, and the general public should know that, because then we have to start respecting the ocean, because we are on the other hand we are depending on the ocean for our own survival. These are new latest marine pharmaculture. These plants are used for mainly for drugs, right? Then the tourism, as I mentioned, as I told you. So in Sri Lanka, we are mainly depending on tourism. But in the tourism, the new arena of the tourism, deep water restaurants, underwater restaurants, right, like this. And again, deep water dives, tech dives with deeper wrecks, right? And again, the super luxury yacht tourism. So we are now developing some new programs to attract them to our especially in Southeast Asia. This is a new arena we can explore. This super luxury yacht industry. And again, those the cruise ships. Not only that, yacht building is again becoming huge business even in Sri Lanka. So this is the area we can get more our younger generations to work on and earn from foreign currencies. So this is in our job as your job, or it's my job as a journalist and scientist to spread this news to the world and deep water diving. And not only that, the deep water submarine, and now people they go to space as space tourism. Why can't we develop on deep water tourism using those subs? So this is happening in other countries. They have this type of extreme tourism. People are willing to pay, but this is new type of tourism is happening in the ocean. Then the trade, transportation, as I told you. So, most of our goods and commodities, they more than 80%, 85% they are transported through the ocean. But it's ever expanding industry. And look at this ship. This one ship contains the largest ship in the world for the moment ever is. This one ship is contain about 23,992 such containers. Think about the amount of cargo this ship taking here and there, right? And not only that, this ship, the evergreen ship, ever given ship, this got stuck in Suez Canal, you might remember, right? So the per day loss was about US dollars 9.5 billion because of the economic loss because of this ship. But in our case, in Sri Lankan case, our annual export earning was about 10 billion per year, right? This per, 9.5 billion per day. So you can think how much, the economy is taken by shipping industry. And in our case, especially in South Asian, East Asian region, it's a plethora for our younger generations to take some new opportunity, job opportunities in the ocean, irrespective of the gender, right? You can become ship owners, ship captains, ship engineers, ship designers, even DJ, even chefs in the ship. So whatever the position you can available on land, we can available can be available in ships. This ship is manned by female crew, right? And look at this ship again manned by a female crew, and look at this Indian ship Swarna Krishna again completely manned by female crew. So these are the new areas where our young kids, especially both male or female, they can explore on. This is Captain Belinda. This is crew captain, and this is uh, she's the vice chancellor of WME World Maritime University, Dr. Cleopatra. So these are high position, jobs available in the maritime sector. Not only that, even maritime lawyers, maritime engineers, high profile jobs in this sector, right? And we have lots of, women in the marine science, well known, right? Sylvia Crystal is well known. And from our case, Asha Divorce in Sri Lankan case. So we have produced that. There are still opportunity for our younger generations to explore ocean and get more life opportunities with less competition in the ocean and environment. Then I move to the negative part, the sea level rise. So this is the sea level rise within 1993 to 2002, 10 centimeters sea level rise. So what is the repercussion? So sea level rise is expanding, is increasing or increasing erosion, right? And in the future, we can expect cities like this, lots of coastal cities will be, inundated with seawater. So how we convince people to move away from the coast and even establish their own industries and their own household? Because in Sri Lanka, people, they want to build their houses just on the beach or just, or just by the beach. So it's totally wrong. So how convince people to go away from this and learn something to, to accommodate this climate change into their real lives, right? And look at this island, Panama. This island is, they are going to completely relocate this and Panama, because in Sri Lanka we are experiencing huge amount of sea erosion because of this climate change and sea level rise issues. Look at this. These are from Sri Lanka. And think, if a wave hits from your house in the morning, if your house is built just on the beach like this. So therefore, we, as a journalist, it's our duty to convince people to be away from the beach and leave the beach for tourism and fisheries and other activities, right? And look at this, the coastal inundation because of climate change, right? And fisheries. These are the very, these are whale shark. This can be used heavily in marine tourism, especially ecotourism, but we fish them, right? So how can we develop fisheries, right? Tourism in such cases. And look at this, these are humphead wrens, but we fish them in Sri Lanka also. In Southeast Asian region, we fish this animal. So how we can use these resources in more meaningful way, because we have very short-sighted vision when we think about marine resources, mainly because of the unawareness, right? And we talk about elephants. So we talk about elephants dying. It is like elephants from Sri Lanka. So they die because of because they eat plastics. But look at these majestic animals, whale sharks and whale sharks and larger whales. This is sperm whale. So they feed on plastics and they die. Look at this giant animal died with 29 kilograms of plastic bags in the stomach, and it blocked the alimentary canal. And look at this blue sperm whale. 115 plastic cups, 25 plastic bags, 4 plastic bottles, 4 thorns, and more than 1,000 pieces of plastic in the alimentary canal, in the gut. So it's happening, but nobody know about that, because nobody cares about the ocean, because it's no unknown area for the people. Therefore, it's our duty to take this message out and aware the people how to manage our plastic properly, how to manage our waste properly. It's again connect to the ocean, right? And as our previous speakers told you, the dynamite fishing, right, is happening in Sri Lanka. This dynamite, the use in our fishermen. So one reef I call as pinnacle before dynamiting, the same after dynamiting, right? So you destroy everything, right? It is once I heard that in an international conference that one speaker mentioned that dynamiting of a reef is almost similar to a dynamiting of a kindergarten. So it destroy the complete future of the of our own environment, right? And there's one ship in in Sri Lanka, it's just British surgeon, is blasted like this before after situation. You can see it's so it's happening. So they take this out and report this to the general public and report to take these issues up is job of our journalists, right? And at present, the ocean is dying. Those are called ocean dead, not the Dead Sea, but ocean dead zones. They are spreading. These areas, the fish diversity is extremely low. Fish are disappearing from this area. So when it happens, we have issues with food security. We have issues with tourism. We will have issues with fisheries, and again we will have issues with our own survival, because at the very beginning I mentioned that ocean provides us with oxygen and carbon, it absorbs carbon dioxide. When the ocean dies, the whole, the function and services will come to a standstill. That will be the end of even our own survival. So we have to think of that. And the marine calamities, so marine disasters, ship issues. There is MS Daniela issue in Sri Lanka. New Diamond ship oil spill, right? And coastal oil spill, right? So to know about this and to learn about this and to report about this, you should know the very basics of marine sciences. And again, that's why I am always emphasizing in Sri Lanka that the marine journalism should be it's a emerging the arena sector. We have to train more people to report this in proper way. The well-known express pearl issue, right? This well-known in Sri Lanka. This new ship is burnt and totally is a complete one of the largest ocean disasters happen. Not only chemical, but only this nodal pollution we experience because of the express pearl, right? And then the conservation, another aspect of marine journalism, mangrove conservation. And again, you can see lots of people engage. For that, they have to have awareness about this mangrove conservation and coastal green belt establishment. I would say again, is a mangrove and coral reef conservation. Like these are reef balls. So we are doing those reef balls programs in Sri Lanka in two places. Is with some successful results. This is what we have done. Again, restoration on natural dead corals. This is the actual picture from me, and this is what I have done, right? And this is again coral restoration. Not only that, this again restored. This is a picture from another country, but this restoration is again becoming a huge topic, and industry people are engaging in that. And other marine turtle restoration, recovering of marine turtles, and finally training of journalists for that. That in Sri Lanka, I have trained about 75 of journalists from our media into marine journalists. So you can see I give them a basic training, and even for snorkeling, how to take data, how then 3 days of uh, awareness programs. I took them to a marine protected area. I stationed them in a close by hotel, and 3 days of training awareness programs. And then I took them to the field. I trained them how to snorkel, how to dive, how to observe marine environment, how to identify species, fish species, coral species. All of these are from Sri Lankan media. Most of them are news readers from number of media channels. So that's what we have done here. And even how to train them, right? Because how to adapt them to the marine environment. They should be prepared to go out. It's not easy environment. It's not comfortable environment, but you can enjoy in a marine environment. Therefore, this is how that we take data from the marine environment. So we gave this training in Sri Lanka. Therefore, I think in this initiative, I think we will be able to train more people into this, right? Get more people to marine world, because there are less people they are working. and we can take these issues up and aware the world and show the world about the importance of ocean and how to utilize the ocean in a more sustainable manner, because we have to keep something even for the future generations, right? So look how they these are how we can collect data and information from the ocean. And even underwater photo, I have even given some underwater photography courses for marine journalists in Sri Lanka. So we can do that. These are the opportunities we are having. So this workshop, this session will be an eye-opening session for all of us. Therefore, at the end, I must say that we are depending on the ocean, so we should know about the ocean. And not only we should know about the ocean, we should take this message out, and we should, the whole planet, the people living in the planet, they should know about the importance of the ocean, and we have to work for that. We have to dedicate our time, our effort to protect our ocean. For that, we have to convey the message from the ocean to the general public. The platform is to convey this message is the media. Therefore, I hope in the future we can get together and do lots of work, and maybe we can develop some courses for journalists and take and get basic ideas as discussed during the early two sessions. And we can have a sustainable programs to take this marine message out and make this planet a livable place to all of us. That's my main message for all of you. I think there's opportunity. Let's get together and make our ocean a healthier, at the end, make our planet, through that, make our planet healthier and living places, not only for us, even for our future generations. Thank you.
Thank you. I agree that it is our job to protect our coastal and marine ecosystem, as we are nothing without it. Thank you, Professor P.P. Pradeep Kumar, for that enlightening presentation on the vital role oceans play in human survival. Your insight into marine ecology are invaluable. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, we have concluded the presentations from our distinguished speakers. We will now move into the Q&A session, where we invite our audience to actively participate by asking questions to our speakers. Thank you. We give you maybe 3 minutes for our audience to ask questions to our speakers before we move on to our photo session.
Hi, this is Amir from Pakistan Television. I wanted to ask that, well, gathering the information by yourself is really interesting and can lend you some beautiful insights, but still getting the data and making sense out of it is another aspect. So maybe we can, that is called as, nowadays it is called as the data journalism. So how important it is for a journalist to analyze the data and make the sense out of mere numbers if you are unable to collect the data by yourself and you are getting it from some other sources.
Thank you, Amir, for that. Do we have more questions or comments?
Hello.
Yes.
First of all, I would like to express my gratitude to AIBD for organizing the insightful webinar on marine journalism. I'm currently serving as a news editor at Radio Nepal. Given that Nepal is a landlocked country, our journalism and reporting have traditionally focused on land-based issues. As a result, primarily, many journalists in Nepal have limited exposure to the field of marine journalism. However, it is important to note that Nepal is home to over 6,000 rivers, which sustain a rich diversity of life beneath the water surface. These water bodies are without a doubt being impacted by climate change, yet they often receive a very limited attention in mainstream reporting in Nepal. So I'd like to know whether marine journalism also encompasses the study and reporting of life in freshwater ecosystems, such as rivers, Furthermore, I'm curious to know if there are any notable examples of reporting on aquatic life in rivers in countries like Malaysia and Pakistan. And how can journalists in landlocked countries like Nepal effectively engage with and report on marine and aquatic issues despite not having direct access to the sea? My questions are for both Ms. Tan Su Lin and Mr. Fazal Raza Khan. And last question is for Professor Kumara. What training or resources would you recommend for journalists in landlocked countries to better understand marine and freshwater ecosystems and to report on them more effectively? Thank you.
Mr. Pradeep, I think our audience have a question for you or for our speakers.
I hope you can hear me, right? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. I think his question is about what sort of training a journalist should get even from landlocked countries. Yes. Even if we are landlocked, we are connected to the ocean, right? Because whatever we emit ultimately end up in the ocean. Even for the plastic, we take plastic. Even if we send plastics out, ultimately those our canals take plastics to the ocean, and we are contributing to the ocean pollution. So first we have to start with the training, the basic training about the knowledge, right? So knowledge, I think you can start reading about the ocean even from YouTube's. We can start taking basic knowledge from YouTube's and others, and even some basic lots of documents are available. Then regarding the training, I think to reporting about the marine issues I just mentioned, of course you had to be on the ocean and you had to be in the ocean. Therefore, but still you can learn from other countries, other ocean areas, and report in your country, because how you depending on the ocean and how what the benefits you get from the ocean, then we can get we can raise the awareness among your people in your country, and take some environmental or may some I think you can train your people how to become sustainable, how to convert into sustainable lifestyle. So those things you can do, but if you really want to report directly from the ocean, of course you have to be in the ocean. But still, you can convince your country, your people that we are depending on the ocean. Whatever we did, we are getting connected to the ocean. But therefore, we have to uh, uh, you know uh, 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 we have to lead for a more sustainable life. At the same time, if they are very much willing to go to the ocean, take some courses, and they can even migrate, or they can take some courses from the university, from coastal countries, and then they can directly engage in what ocean reporting. And that time they of course they should get training about snorkeling, maybe very basic diving, and maybe ocean going trainings, become a basic seafarer. So those sort of training is necessary with some underwater, maybe underwater photography, maybe those sort of training is needed.
Thank you, Professor.
Hi, maybe I can add on from the Malaysian perspective, but before I go into the case studies, just addressing in terms of the question regarding data, I think this is a quite an issue that across a lot of countries as well, not just in Nepal, in terms of the access to data. But I guess I would urge you to work closely with NGO, because usually NGOs who are in this area, they are quite they would have access to data, whether the data is from the government or the data that they research themselves, which I think are usually quite substantial, and they usually have quite a lot of data that they could share. So I would urge you, sometimes I know it's difficult to get data from government because they are classified, but try to work with NGOs who could be able to provide you data, or at least provide you some insights on how to get this specific data that you could obtain to help support your write-up or your reporting and make it a more stronger case in terms of what you're trying to advocate. And understand that in terms of for Nepal, if the ocean is not an issue, obviously you have to know who are your audiences and the context. Every country is different, right? But I would say in terms of aquamarine or fresh water, it still plays a very important role. For example, aside from just ocean, I also cover a lot in terms of river conservation, where a few of my reporting were to highlight what are the solutions in terms of converting for a river that is polluted, for example. There are scientists and groups that came up with solutions, for example, how they clean up the river, how they use mud balls, for example, to clear up rivers, but also in terms of how these water bodies provide sources of food for us, right, in terms of fisheries. I also recall a story I did regarding sustainable lobster farming, particularly these local communities, how they themselves knew the importance of sustainably harvesting the lobsters in the area without over harvesting it, because they knew if they over harvest it, that's it, the livelihood for them. There's no more businesses for the local community, but they knew they have to keep the fish sources, the stock ongoing. So that's how they came up with, the awareness that they can only catch the certain size or certain age, and they let the small ones or the baby ones grow so that they can have a long-term fishery stocks in the area. So these are the examples that you could highlight as well, aside from just marine, but also in rivers or other water bodies in your country. Hope that helps.
Yeah, I want to add into that. Specifically, one of our colleague from Pakistan television, he asked about the data basically. So no doubt about that, as Tansulein rightly said, that it is always difficult to extract data from, particularly from the government entities. But no doubt that NGOs, and one of the very lucrative source is the United Nations, because they have lots of data available regarding the marine life, the ecosystem, and about the climate change, like international when Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, and lots of other sources. Those are available online even. To have you have to register yourself, and you have to extract that data from those. And then of course, in every country there are lots of NGOs, lots of organizations who are working in the private sector. They are always eager to collect that data, and they have lots of database available, so we can get benefits out of that as well. And when we are talking about the landlocked countries, there are lots of landlocked countries, like the example of Nepal was there. I was twice I was there. So when it comes to the monsoon patterns, those are straight away evolving monsoon currents from the Bay of Bengal. They are always those the weather patterns and the rain patterns always travel from those areas to Nepal, and then to Bhutan and Nepal, and then to the northern areas of Pakistan as well. So that is again going to be a linked story when it comes to the rain patterns, and how the water straight away comes into the Dudhkushi and Butikushi rivers in Nepal particularly. Then how it impacts the agriculture, how the intensity of rain is actually increasing, the different erratic rain patterns and all that because of the climatic changes, and what is happening to the foothills, to the Everest and all that, because every country has its own dynamics when it comes to the journalism, and those could be linked with the marine journalism and all that, because marine journalism is always linked with that. When you have some of the pesticides or insecticides into your agriculture, and that is straight away come through the run of river to the ocean, so that is ultimately disturbing it, and then the plastic pollution and all that. So it means that no country is in isolation, even if it is landlocked. So the links to the climate change and the marine ecosystem and all that, that is available, that is there, and that could be addressed into your story. So all that is linked basically when it comes to the global warming, or the greenhouse gas emissions, the aerosols, or the atmospheric black carbon, or what is happening all around us. So so everything is linked, but as Professor Pradeep Kumar rightly said, that first of all, the basic knowledge is required. if you just go through that knowledge and you have some sort of how. So I think so that these stories are already linked and you can link it with each other. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I think we'll end the question and answer session for today. Sorry.
Hi,
Yes,
this
go
is
ahead.
Pankaj. I just a little just a small question. It's regarding that the data availability. So, what is the challenge presently seen by the journalist with respect to the availability of the data? And second challenge with respect to the interpretation of the data available, means what is the baseline and all those things. So, just quickly on this point.
I think so. In that particular perspective, when it comes to data, most of the times, as I have said earlier, that regarding the state entities and the government functionaries and the organizations, it's always very difficult to extract that data because of the secretive things, and most of the times that is not available, unfortunately. That is available through second or third source. So, but some of the non-governmental organizations or the United Nations or all others, that data most of the times available through the reports, and even the annual reports which come straight away from the government side, from different sort of ministries and departments. So all we have to be very curious on that to have that data. But most of the times when the data available, you are absolutely right that interpretation of that data and how to analyze that data, that is the real question. So that always comes through the experience, basically, because when you into the data and you are always having that to have some sort of advantage to carve different sort of stories or to use it in your text. So I think so that that needs to be much focused on that approach. Then again, it comes that do you have any sort of a knowledge or the baseline knowledge you have that in that field, particularly that from which the data belongs, and how you are going to utilize what actually your focus is and how you are going to use it in your particular story or in any sort of a documentary or whatever you are actually going to make. So in that sense, you should have a background knowledge on that, the baseline thing, and then you actually interpret that data. That in that case, that is going to be more beneficial for you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
For that, we'll move to our photo session. Before that, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to our speakers for sharing their invaluable expertise with us today, and also to our esteemed participants for your attention throughout the session. At this point, it is my privilege to hand over the proceedings to Dawn, who will guide us through the next segment of the program. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for everyone. And before we winding up, we need to just have a quick photo session. So can everyone turn your camera on so when we can have a quick group photo? Okay. Everyone ready? One more time. Okay. Thank you, everybody. I greatly appreciate for the time and wonderful presentation that made our lives on a new journey on marine journalism. I must thank our three presenters who are actually the expert on the field and the moderator. I also take this opportunity to thank everyone, our wonderful audience. And lastly, the AIBD staff who supported me to make this webinar a success. I got a very positive sign looking at your comments to organize the areas, the webinars that we can work on the interest of your own. So I think we will work on that as well. And I really thank you all having joined this webinar, and have a good evening. Thank you very much.
Thank
Just
you.
before going, I would also like to announce that in coming days, we will be having one webinar on the disaster risk preparedness, which will be done by Ms. Dini Rose. And it will be, again, a very information-packed event. And also, after that, we will be having a web summit on mental health for media practitioners. We will be giving you the details very soon. And I think Ms. Viknas will be getting in touch with you on that with the agenda and with the flow of those events. So till then, do stay in touch with our Facebook page, facebook.com/MYAIBD, and also on YouTube with the name of TV AIBD. Have a nice evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The photos?
They have already taken.